Assalamu alaikum and a very good morning, students. How are you all? I hope you all are doing good. So today, students, let's do something new. Today, I would like to start my class with a riddle. So let's see who can answer this riddle. Sometimes I walk in front of you, sometimes I walk behind you. It is only in the dark that I ever leave you. What am I? So, students, any guesses? Well, yes, that is your shadow. So, today we would be studying the poem My Shadow from the Marigold textbook. So, let's start our today's poem My Shadow, written by Robert Louis Stevenson. Shadow means one's own reflection, which is always dark. Students, have you ever imagined why your shadow always follows you? Why is it always dark? Why it grows suddenly and why it shrinks down suddenly? Well, this is your imagination, which leads you to find the answers and brings out your imaginative part. So, our today's objective of this poem is to understand the power of imagination and creativity. The poem Shadow depicts the relationship between the child and his shadow. The poem shows the curiosity that a child holds regarding the small things and who keeps a close eye on his surroundings. So let's just recite the poem first. I have a little shadow that goes in and out with me, and what can be the use of him is more than I can see. He is very, very like me from the heels up to the head, and I see him jump before me when I jump into my bed. The funniest thing about him is the way he likes to grow. Not at all like proper children, which is always very slow. For he sometimes shoots up taller like an India rubber ball, and he sometimes gets so little that there's none of him at all. One morning, very early, before the sun was up, I rose and found the shining dew on every buttercup. But my lazy little shadow, like an errant sleepyhead, had stayed at home behind me and was fast asleep in the bed. So, students, I hope you enjoyed the recitation of the poem. So, before moving towards the explanation of the poem stanza wise, I would like to summarize the poem in short. So, let's see the summary of the poem. My Shadow, written by Robert Louis Stevenson, is told from the perspective of a child who is trying to understand what the purpose his shadow serves. The poem begins with the speaker describing how there is another child who follows him everywhere. The speaker describes his shadow as a he, as if it is another boy accompanying him everywhere he goes. He also has the strange ability to shrink and grow quickly, not at all like a normal boy. The child's innocence and honest inquiry into the nature of his world is endearing and takes an adult reader back to a time before everything was made so clearer through science. I hope that you have got an idea about what the poem My Shadow is. So now I will move towards the explanation of first stanza. So let's read out the first stanza. I have a little shadow that goes in and out with me, and what can be the use of him is more than I can see. As I told you before, that this poem is written from the perspective of a child who finds pleasure in the company of his own shadow. He is amazed to see how his little shadow follows him everywhere. That means whenever he goes out or whenever he comes in, wherever he goes, the shadow likes to follow him. His innocent mind thinks that the shadow is afraid of being alone, and that's why he sticks to him all the time. The child refers his shadow as he. That means he is thinking of his shadow as another boy who is accompanying him wherever he goes. So, this is the fact that he realizes first, and the fact is the shadow mirrors him. That means the shadow is his own reflection. That is the first thing that he notices, and quickly he comes to a conclusion that the shadow is of no other use except that the shadow follows him everywhere. So the child is not able to understand the real purpose of the shadow. So now let's see the next four lines of the stanza. He is very, very like me from the heels up to the head, and I see him jump before me when I jump into my bed. So here the child is surprised and puzzled to see that the shadow is very, very like him. That means every part of the shadow is similar from head to toe. He also notices that his reflection moves whenever he moves, and so he describes his shadow as jumping onto the bed before he does. He says that whenever he goes to sleep, his reflection jumps or hops into the bed before him. So, students, I hope that you are clear with the first stanza. I'll continue the explanation of rest two stanzas in the next video.